Hello and welcome to Warframe Unabridged. I'm your host Finn, and today we're going to continue our journey through the power kit of Nezha as we discuss a Warding Halo-centric loadout that I have dubbed the Golden Boy. For this loadout, we will be discussing Nezha, the boy on fire, and I have to give a shout out to Polygon Monster for his work on the Nezha Divine skin, as well as Faven and Silverbones for their George skin, either of which could be yours for free. See details at the end of the video. Now, before we begin discussing the Golden Boy, we should probably talk about the power Warding Halo, so that everybody can grasp 100% of what it can do, as the wiki has left out some very important details with this ability. As for Warding Halo, the first misconception that you need to check at the door is that damn comparison that everybody has between Warding Halo and Iron Skin. Warding Halo is not a weaker version of Iron Skin. It is a more offensive and more versatile, albeit less tanky version of Iron Skin. The thing is, less tanky doesn't matter, because once you have enough damage absorption to last the entire damn mission, it's entirely arbitrary at that point. More importantly, less tanky doesn't matter when you can make every squad mate, every companion, every allied, effector, mind control target, specter, and shadow in your mission have more health than Inaros with a max vitality and primed vigor. And most importantly, being tanky is only one aspect of Warding Halo, and it would be equally unfair of someone to say that Iron Skin is a weaker version of Warding Halo simply because it has no offensive capacity. Now, moving along to base stats, Warding Halo will provide an unaugmented health of 900. The thing is, you will only ever see such a weak Halo if you are doing very poorly in a salvage mission, on account of the armor multiplier, which will grant your Halo around 1300 health, if your armor is at base. Now, the great thing about Warding Halo and armor is its scaling is twofold. First off, it scales off of power strength, which is the most diverse in how the attribute can scale upwards. Now, with 6 different mods that can be equipped, one of which is an aura and another of which is an Exilus mod, power strength increases the health of the Halo in 2 ways, increasing the armor multiplier as well as increasing the base health. Second is the armor, which doesn't scale up as well as power strength by percentage, but what makes armor such a great contribution is the ability to use health conversion. It's significantly better than steel fiber or armored agility. In fact, it does most of the heavy lifting with this loadout, so get yourself one. And the reason why it's so much better is because it requires far less endo than steel fiber, and it doesn't add to the speed of an already pretty quick Nezha, which sometimes can make him unwieldy. But most important is that it increases armor by a static amount, adding 450 armor per orb up to 3 times, giving Nezha a bonus of 1,350 armor on top of his current total. It should be noted that the armor buff granted by the Justice Syndicate power does not impact Warding Halo, but on other Warframe powers like Warcry, Iron Renewal, Elemental Ward, they will contribute to Halo's durability. It may not seem like much, but with Warding Halo's armor multiplier reaching upwards of 9 times, it's not hard to see how powerful of a Halo that these can combine into. Now, we wouldn't want to leave out the final contribution of the health of Warding Halo, and that being the period of invulnerability. Honestly though, I've found this to be the least useful contribution due to the small time window, and even if you have a ton of enemies right next to you and Guardian Derision, it's still not going to produce as good of results. You want to work with what is a sure thing. So where it diverges from Iron Skin is in the Halo's offensive capacity. And with any stats available, Warding Halo has a stagger field, which will always stagger all enemies in range of it every second, making it very simple to stunlock enemies, especially infested units where their primary mode of attack requires that they walk in range of your Warding Halo stagger field. Further diverging from Iron Skin is the 125 slash damage that is dealt to any enemies in range, which is equal to the stagger field, which does scale with range. And here I'm doing a quick playtest with the Altar Martial loadout, showing you maximized range on the stagger field and what it looks like against melee units. With the ability to stagger enemies while dealing slash damage, you can essentially count out infested rabble as a serious threat, so long as you aren't just standing there and taking it. This feature may provide clarity to my video on the Altar Martial when I stated that few things could even get close enough to attack me. Perhaps it's a bit generous of me to say, but this feature is kind of like a pocket version of MAME, with the obvious exception of the damage battery. As an amazing bonus to the corpus, Safeguard Halos on allies are immune to nullification, but this is kind of ahead of the Snake deal, in that a nullifier can destroy all safeguards by getting Nezha, who cast the Halos. So now that you understand the basic stats, we can jump into the build, but let me be clear, this is a very powerful but complicated setup, and its demands cannot be met until you complete the War Within. This is not a build for newer players. Now for the build, we use Power Drift, Drift, Safeguard, Intensify, Energy Conversion, Transient Fortitude, Blind Rage, Steel Fiber, Armored Agility, Health Conversion, and Stand United. For our primary, we use the HEMA, and yes, it is required to make this work well. For your secondary, select a weapon of your choosing because it's the only area with any real wiggle room in this loadout. I personally will be using the Azima just for some supplemental DPS because I intend to focus on melee when I'm using this loadout. For our melee weapon, we use the Broken Scepter, and it isn't so much a requirement, but it certainly makes it a lot simpler to accomplish. And in order to use this, you have to have beaten the War Within quest, as this weapon cannot be purchased or gifted or anything else. Complete the War Within, it's the only way you get it. Now for our companion, I would say equip anything that's vacuum friendly, but make sure that it's not equipped with Medikit. Not only will you never need it with the Golden Boy loadout, but it'll actually slow you down and get in the way of you perfecting the Golden Boy. For our arcanes, the best thing you can equip is something that will impact your damage output somehow, with whatever weapon it is that you really want to use. I know that some of you are likely going to think that Guardian is the go-to, but you won't be taking health damage, so Guardian will never ever work with this loadout. And the buff won't get you very far to begin with, so I would strongly advise against it and would suggest that you equip an arcane that you intend to use during the entire duration of the mission. Now for me, I use Strike and I use Fury. For your focus school, in the past I used Naramon for the bonus crit chance, but I'm already tanky enough with this build to worry all that much, so Shadow Step is entirely unnecessary. Of course, this no longer matters on PC, and it won't matter long on console, so do whatever the hell you want, honestly. As for the rationale behind the build, this is a loadout that procedurally gains power. While I play the Golden Boy, I begin each mission just by casting Halo automatic, and I don't worry about how weak it is, because the aim hereafter is to just kill enemies and slowly build towards what I call the Omega Halo. Simply kill enemies, and then use the Broken Scepter on the biological targets to summon health orbs, until you have at least 3 health orbs summoned somewhere in the mission. This is where the HEMA comes in. You switch to the HEMA while being sure to hold off reloading until you fired around 15 rounds, after which the HEMA will bypass your warding Halo and directly damage your health, which enables you to collect the orbs, which will activate health conversion. Now if you did this without an active Halo, all the damage you would take in the meantime would eliminate a charge of health conversion, and in doing so, it would impede your ability to summon the Omega Halo. Keep in mind that the Broken Scepter is very slow at summoning orbs. That's why this loadout is so specific. Having a Halo already erect will prevent you from losing health conversion charges, allowing you to keep them not only for the first 3 casts in order to get the Omega Halo, but it will also sustain them for the casting on all of your allies, and it will also keep them in case you need to recast down the road, like if you fall off a ledge or something. However, you need to be able to damage your health in order to collect orbs, which is why the HEMA is so detrimental to the build. Now if you're in a squad with Necros or an Oberon, you can diverge away from the Broken Scepter and use whatever weapon you want, but otherwise the Broken Scepter makes this loadout painfully simple to use. So what happens once you have a full stack of health conversion as well as energy conversion? Well, you can either wait out until the destruction of your current Halo and recast before the first health conversion charge wears off, or you can simply jump off a cliff to dispel the power and then recast with the Omega Halo. Now at this point I suspect that you're thinking that this loadout is incredibly complicated, and you're honestly right, but the question is it worth it? Many people would be of the opinion that they could just play as Rhino and he could achieve the tankiness without all of this freaking effort. Well, what if I told you now that with this build you could make every squad mate, every ally, every summon, and every specter have a greater health pool than a Naros could possibly achieve if he were equipped with maxed out Prime Vigor and max Vitality. Now is that something you'd be interested in? Picture, if you will, going into a squad that brought an unranked and unmodded Banshee, and you can give her a better health pool than a Naros. Are you interested yet? If so, then the Golden Boy is for you. You see, with the formula I just gave you, you have a Warding Halo that can achieve preposterous levels of damage absorption. After first unlocking Warding Halo using this same formula, your Warding Halo is going to be around 8,137, and the most astute of you know that that is 619 more than the wiki states to be the absolute maximum, which is listed as 7,518. Now that's without even fully leveling up. That is the first rank. Now at max level, you're looking at Warding Halo, and that will sit at a comfortable 19,000 health. Now many of you will likely point out that this setup neuters the rest of his power kit, making it impossible to maintain his DPS. And you know what? You're half right. He doesn't really benefit from Firewalker with this build. He burns through it incredibly quick. The reason why you're only half right is because when every allied force in your squad has a Halo with 9,500 health to it, their Halo will last for quite a while. And so long as that Halo is there, every enemy that enters into range will not only be staggered, but they will be dealt damage from that Warding Halo, and because of that, I say, the more the merrier. Sometimes while running Halo, I summon one of each kind of Spectre that I have available just so I can get an absurd amount of DPS produced by an army of Haloed allies. Between that and being able to face tank behind your Halo of 19,000 health, you can go nuts with melee attack and even use massive blast weapons or whatever. Now where the Golden Boy shines the brightest, in my opinion, is a fissure survival mission. With so many enemies, making enough orbs to get your Halo up is just stupid easy. But when Reactant kicks in, you're looking at a warding Halo that can top 40,000 health. Does that sound interesting to you? Every person that you have safeguarded with their expanded stagger field due to the Reactant buff also has a health pool sitting between 19 and 20,000 damage absorption. And it will deal copious amounts of damage, assuming you're keeping up with all of your allies with it. So clearly we're talking about a build that can only really be achieved by veterans. But it's still an everyman build in that it benefits everybody in the squad. Now one fun fact before we wrap up, you can establish an unlimited number of Halos, but the only limit is the amount of allies you can have in any given mission. So let's just take this to the extreme, right? Let's just throw out the meta and let's go into a law of retribution. You have 7 Necros, and you have your Golden Boy Nezha. Say each summoned a maximum number of shadows, which is 7. We're not going to deal with, what can happen when you summon a summoner. And each of you have brought out one of each kind of Spectre. Assuming your game didn't crash, you could possibly have 137 warding Halos active, 136 of them sitting at 9,500, and yours sitting at 19,000. And at the end of the day, your Nezha could produce a sum of 1,311,000 health, all active simultaneously, and dealing boatloads of damage and stagger fields while immune to status. And that's all there is to the Golden Boy. But hey, Rhino's cool too, right? Now before we get out of here, if you want a chance to claim a free Nezha and a Circa Helmet, comment on the video with your PSN and a fun fact about the original Nezha. It doesn't have to be elaborate, and I wouldn't care if you repeated what someone else has said. Winners will be selected by raffle. Already have them? Well, I'd be happy to gift you one of his Tenojin skins instead. Winners will be selected after the completion of Nezha Unabridged. You can follow me on Twitter, or you can follow me on my official Facebook page using the links in the description. If you like what we do here, be certain to like our video. Share if you know someone that could benefit from it as well. If you particularly love us, you can always hit the notification button for instant gratification. But until next time, this is Finn, signing off.